All right, gang, what's going on? Welcome to Big Fell Fitness YouTube channel. Today we have a special week. We're talking to a good buddy of mine, Carlitos Lifts, on all platforms, TikTok and Instagram, also known as Carlos. Whoa, you have fireworks behind you now. We are using a new software, so apparently we do thumbs up, you get like special effects. That's pretty cool. Anyway, today we're going to have a conversation. For those of you that don't know, Carlitos has lost, what's the total amount of weight you've lost?
So right now I'm weighing 198 to 152 pounds.
152 pounds down, and he is only about a month or two away from his first ever transformation bodybuilding show. As you guys know, we talk a lot about, weight loss here, and Carlitos and I have been, buddies through social media, hopping each other's live streams for a while, and he had the idea to us just have a conversation on YouTube. So I thought it was a great idea. So today we're going to talk a lot about just our own individual weight loss journeys, me down 110, him down 152, and the differences between them, the similarities between them, the things that we noticed, things that we saw in changes, as far as social differences and lifestyle and how we feel physically, mentally, emotionally, all that stuff. Talk about his upcoming competition, and there's kind of the difference between, it's a whole different ballpark. A lot of people on social media kind of decide like, oh, I just want to be a hardcore bodybuilder. It's like, brother, man, you still got 60 pounds to lose first, So there's a lot of different conversations we can kind of stem off into. But Carlos, why don't you start off by just kind of giving me a general introduction of just who you are and your journey.
Alrighty. So hey you guys, my name's Carlos Gonzalez. I am 24 years old. I have lost 152 pounds. Started off at 350 of November of 2022. And I am currently weighing in at 198, and I will be competing in my show around 180. This, kind of like a brief description of how this all started. I was never in the competitor mindset. I never wanted to thought about competing. It was just it stemmed down from depression, being overweight my entire life. I just didn't get a lot of attention, and a lot of my feelings were kind of pushed away, being the fat funny friend. And so, eventually, I grew up. By the time I was 15, I was 300 pounds. Being 300 pounds in high school, let's just say kids are not very nice to you when you're 300 pounds in high school. And graduated high school, went on to community college, didn't really do much there. I went up to around 330 during that time. Then I got to college. My senior year, realized that I was 350 pounds, couldn't even look at myself in the mirror, didn't feel like I was doing anything in life, and one night just ended up wanting to hurt myself, and from there I kind of flipped the switch. My mom was actually the reason why I didn't do it, because I had a notification go off, and during that time there was a picture of my mom on my phone, and my picture of my mom kind of came up, and I was like this is kind of a selfish move for just me. It's not going to just affect me, it's about to affect everybody else's life. And the next day, woke up, went to hit a leg day, was completely sore, but that's what started my journey.
Wow. Yeah, that's obviously some heavy stuff, man. I'm a huge proponent for just, mental health in general, and I talk a lot about, I had some pretty awful self-hatred issues as well. Same exact lifestyle, fat funny friend, kids are fucking ruthless, when you're in high school and you're the big guy. I know what it's like. It can be brutal. And more, the bean dipping and, wearing the hoodies all the time, hiding your chin. I know what all of that's like, and it does screw with your psyche, especially when you're younger. And, as someone who personally has been very affected by, self-harm, and I have other people in my life that have struggled with it immensely, I've been personally affected by it. It's really freaking amazing to hear that you were able to kind of do that. And one key thing I always like to take a pause and kind of make a distinction is we weren't going through our mental battles when we were heavy solely because we were heavy. And I want to make that super duper clear. Was that a big was that a huge part of it? Absolutely. That screws with your self-motivation. It screws with your self-worth. Like I said, I had a lot of self-deprecation issues. I would have some very, very, very negative self-talk, and it would spiral into some very ugly things. And, Carlos was very vulnerable and shared his story as well. But it wasn't just because oh, I'm fat, I hate everything. No, there are so many other pieces to the puzzle, so please don't think that when we talk about this, you shouldn't feel that way, no matter what your situation is. That was just our reality.
I think it's I wasn't upset because I was fat. Honestly, looking back at it, I was a pretty happy individual, who I was in general, but it was just the way that society kind of treat bigger people. Like I said, being the fat funny friend, Like you were kind of like people were able to like not invite you places and they'd be
Yeah.
okay with it.
You do kind of get treated like a little bit of a second class citizen sometimes, and that might be a little bit hyperbolic, but at the same time it's not when you're in social circles. Like, really how I describe it is you are more prone to just openly receiving disrespect from people that actually like you. Like, people will openly disrespect you and just think it's obvious and okay because you're big. And when you're just openly getting disrespected in a social circle, that can really screw with your ego. That can really screw with your confidence. Because bottom line, you get into an argument with somebody, which, I mean, I'm not a very argumentative person. But, you know, you're roasting somebody, you're joking around with one of your friends. They will always have a trump card on you. Yeah, but you're fat. You know, and so that screws with you big time. And so it's always fun talking to people who can kind of, they've been through it. You know, I've been through the exact same things, like to a T. And so with that being said, you know, one thing I love talking about is my lifestyle. This is such a buzzword. That's one thing I always like trying to clarify is that, like, oh, habits, lifestyle, consistency, you know, those are important things, but when people say them all the time, they lose their spark, they lose their meaning a little bit. And so what I like to do is kind of like, no, I'm going to give you a freaking gut punch so you can actually listen and understand what I'm saying. The lifestyle and the day-to-day living that I was doing when I was heavy was also contributing to my negative, you know, mindset, mental health, etc. I never finished what I started. I would say I was going to do all these things, and I never, ever actually followed through on my own word. And that's a hard thing to do and have to deal with. I was way worse at handling stress. I was way worse at handling difficult situations and confrontation. And I had no confidence in my own ability in basically anything, whether it was something lighthearted like sports or just screwing around, like playing around with some of my friends, or confidence in like big life things. I had no confidence in my own ability. And then once I was able to make this transformation slowly but surely, confidence comes from evidence. When you give your body and your mind and everything about you just consistent evidence that you are that dude, that you are going to show up and you are going to do the hard stuff, and that you can show up and do these things, your confidence skyrockets. And that's ultimately one of the biggest improvements to my mental health. Now, obviously, there's a huge spark between confidence and ego, and we can talk about that too. But when you're coming from the pit of self-despair to actually gaining confidence, that comes from just showing yourself that you can do it. And so I want to hear your kind of perspective on this. With, obviously, socially, you were a pretty cool dude and you were a pretty happy guy, but as far as your own self-image, you know, how did that start to change during your experience with this whole thing?
So I get asked a lot. It's like, do people treat me differently now that I've lost the weight? And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know, because back when I was bigger, I was like still my own. Like, I didn't really like pay attention to what people said about me, because like, of course, I had this shield up being big, like trying to protect my feelings, my emotions, and everything. And so I never really focused on any of that. To this day, I mean, like, even though like I've lost the weight and everything, I always say I'm the same person. There's nothing has really changed with me. I mean, like, my confidence has gone up. That's just from changing your mindset, especially from going from a traumatic change from like 350, like us 350 to like 200 and stuff. That at one point you were saying you can't. At one point, like, that was all you could say was, I can't do it, I can't do it. And as soon as you start making that wheel spin and realizing, wait, that thing that I said I couldn't do, I can actually do. What else can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I think that's when my confidence started going up, realizing, wait, everything I was saying I couldn't do, I can. It's just that I was never putting the effort and putting my mindset towards it.
Yeah, no, I love that. We're still the same people that we were when we were heavy. We're just older. We're just more mature. We just learned more. We have more wisdom. But that's everybody. Everybody's going to go through stuff like that. You know, everyone, when you go through a big shift like that in your life, whether it's, you know, like a big family shift, or, you know, something else kind of traumatic happens, or you go through just a big transformation where there's lots of change, you're going to come out of the other end of that, no matter what, a more matured, learned version of yourself. And that's really the best way to put it. Like, I'm still Noah. I was always Noah. That never not been Noah. I'm just now an older, more mature version that I've learned some lessons, basically. That's the best way to put it. I just learned some more lessons. And that's the best way to put it. I think that's the most eloquent way to put it, because I'll see some edits on TikTok and stuff for transformations and stuff. You're very heavily on that page. You know what I mean, seeing all the fitness transformation, sounds going viral and stuff. And I try to throw my hat in the ring every once in a while, just because it is good to kind of like, A, for my own progress, but B, it's like, it's good to show people the transformation you made. Either way, there can be some cringy and also kind of like, I kind of disagree with some of the words like, oh, I hated, who I was before. Now I'm a whole new person. And I get it. Like, that's their truth. That's their story. I am never going to put words in anybody else's mouth, but it's like, you're still you.
And I think I've only made like one edit, and I'm pretty sure it was like the very beginning. I think it was before because the thing with like my social media now, I have found my own kind of little spark, something that works with me. So I don't really follow trends that much. And I've done that once, but then like after I did that, I was kind of like you said, it's kind of cringy, because like, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, emotionally, with the way I was being treated and everything, mentally, I wasn't okay, but in general, it wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't to the point where I was like, oh, I have to kill him. Like, he my old self. Yeah. Like, I think that's kind of overkill. I always preach, like, love yourself regardless, no matter what part of the journey you're on. Even the beginning, if I could go back to my 350-pound self, I'd just give him a hug and just be like, hey, man, it just gets better.
That's exactly what I would say. I wouldn't, like, go and slap him across the face like, it's time to get to work. Like, no, that's not how it goes. I would do the same thing. I would just give myself a hug, and I would say, all right, all the negative stuff you're saying in your head, cut that out, because you are capable of way more than you possibly could have ever thought of. And you mentioned about when you say I can't, that's real. How you speak to yourself in your mind dictates the entire thing. And it sounds kind of woo-woo. It sounds a little bit, floaty, if you know what I mean. But it's real. When you speak to yourself in a certain way, it changes. When you have an inner dialogue that doesn't say, oh, I might try this out, or, oh, I think I can maybe try it, or I don't know if I can do that, you're guaranteeing failure. You're giving yourself an excuse, and you're giving yourself a way out. When you tell yourself, I can and I will, I can and I will, I can and I will, and you say it enough to the point to where you actually believe yourself, you will go so much further. There's a couple books that I've read that have changed how I do my inner dialogue forever. How I speak within myself. I don't say, oh, I try, like I will be there, I will build this. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And you talked a lot about that too. Like, when you talk to yourself and tell yourself that you can, you're right. And when you tell yourself you can't, you're also right. The man who believes he can is correct, and so is the man who believes he cannot.
And one thing that I like to talk about also, because we both talk about big on mental health, and like a lot of people don't think about that, but you also got to think, like, if you're going through all this work to physically make yourself physically better, and you are having to destroy yourself mentally to do it, like, are you really that much better?
No, exactly. And we can talk more about that now. We can get more into the tangible side of things of weight loss itself, because obviously I've built, a coaching business on the back of sustainability. I'm not here to help people lose, 20 pounds in 6 weeks and get shredded and get their bikini bodies ready and starve themselves. No, I'm here to help the guy who needs to be down 50 to 60 pounds or wants to be down 50 to 60 pounds and wants to keep it off and has struggled his whole life. And he wants to make sure he does it the right way. That's who I work with, and there's a big difference in your approach to that, because I have some people that'll come to me that just want a meal plan and they want to be treated like a bodybuilder. I'm like, okay, you have a lot of weight to lose and you've never done this before. There's probably some other things we should do first to make sure that this actually stays off. I have literally turned down sales before and turned clients down because they just wanted a very strict and literal like macros written out for them. There are so many things that you need to do first before you can even reach that point. Let's talk a little bit more about, some signs other people are showing that, you're going too fast. You got your priorities in the wrong place. What are some signs that people make where you can tell that they're probably going to fail?
First off, if you throw any kind of number that's under 2,000 calories at me, if you throw any kind, because like I said, I'm doing this bodybuilding journey. I'm currently at 1,600 calories. I've been doing this for 700 and something days.
How tall are you?
6'1".
Okay, yeah, I didn't think you were short.
Yeah, I'm 6'1". So if I am a 6'1" male, at almost 200 pounds, eating 1,600, and I am telling you that I have no energy, have no motivation to do anything. I can't imagine somebody that's uh like heavier than me trying to run that many calories.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. If you are, especially if you're a male, and you have over 40, 50 pounds to lose, your numbers should not be in the ones. Your numbers should be in the 2000s at least. I have several. That is solid advice. Something else I would say is to put a time frame on it. And I know you've seen me talk about this before in the live stream. Putting a time frame on a weight loss journey, the best way to describe it, right? If you think that, like, let's say your weight loss journey is this big tube, right? And you're at the beginning of this tube here, and here's the end of the tube, and this is the end of your journey. This is your goal weight, and then you have this nice little pipe, this little pipeline. So you're going down the pipeline, and you're trying to hit all these milestones and hit your goals. So you're at this end, you want to get to this end. When you add a time frame to this weight loss, it's like putting a giant 1,000,000-pound anvil on top of this tube, on top of your pipeline, and it's going to add pressure. It's going to add so much weight to your shoulders. Who's putting it there? You are. You're not racing anyone. Stop putting time frames on your weight loss. It's all vanity. It's all vanity metrics because you want to look good on the beach. You want to look. Brother man, would you rather try to look a little bit better on the beach 2 weeks earlier or a month earlier? Or would you rather keep it off forever and never have to worry about it again and looking good at the beach for the rest of your freaking life? Because those differences are big. But when you add like, oh, I want to lose 30 pounds in 2 months, that pressure will demoralize you, and it basically drops your success rate to near zero. Genuinely to near zero. The time frames, unless you're in Carlos's situation, completely unnecessary. And Carlos is literally signed up for a bodybuilding show. You are not a bodybuilder. You're trying to lose 40 pounds because you want to feel better in your own skin. Carlos is past that point. Carlos is now competing against other people in a transformation show, and he has a coach lined up and showing him exactly what he needs to do. He is, in all effects, a bodybuilder. That is very different.
I would like to add to the whole time frame thing. I always talk about the time frame being like not doing a time frame either. The reasoning why is because, like you said, the pipeline. Okay, say if somebody wants to lose 50 pounds in 5 months, okay? What if the first 2 months go exactly how they want? They lose 20 pounds. Next month, they lose another 10 pounds. Well, what happens when they get to month 4 and they don't lose anything? And now all of a sudden, that time frame is now going to have to be pushed back. And then a lot of people in that circumstances will end up not wanting to continue because they're like, well, this is happening, like it's not working out. And then the motivation drops, and then they end up just giving it up all of a sudden. And then all the 20, 30 pounds that they lost ends up reverting back because they just gave up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The faster you try to make it, the more likely you are to fail. When you don't put a time frame on it and you're just like, I would like to lose X amount of weight, or I would like to fit in this shirt, that's the best way to do it, personally. I think it should not be a number on the scale. I think it's like, I want to fit into these jeans. I want to fit into this button-up shirt. I want to be able to go on an airplane seat and be comfortable, not need a seatbelt extender. I want to be able to fit on all the rides on a roller coaster when I go to the theme park. Different things like that, that's real. That's ultimately what you actually care about. That's what you really care about. The scale number doesn't really matter. I actually weighed in Monday, I think, for the first time in a couple weeks, and I was at like 221. And I was like, damn, before I weighed in, I was like, wow, I've looked really lean. I've looked really good. I'm very happy with what my physique looks like. I was at 211 2 weeks ago. And this scale, and I was really sore, so I know I was holding on to a ton of water. But still, the scale jumped 10 pounds in 2 weeks for me. Again, largely water. I don't care. I look really solid right now, and I'm very happy. And I'm not saying that from an egotistical standpoint. I'm just saying, me personally, I am unbothered by what the scale says because I am very happy with what my physique is looking like and what my physique is capable of. I am playing sports every other day. I'm going to the gym 4 times a week. I'm running regularly. I get to do everything I want to do. And I like the way I look. Boom. That's my victory. That's exactly what I've wanted this whole time. The number on the scale dictates that 0. And again, that takes time. Achieving this victory over this little stupid piece of plastic down here takes time. But it's possible. And that's what I try to show people. It's like, dude, it's literally batteries in a plastic box. You're going to let that ruin your mood for real?
So when it comes to my social media, I only talk about weight loss management. I don't talk about anything when it comes to the bodybuilding stuff. Because, let me go ahead and kind of start on this. bodybuilding, even though I like it, I enjoy it, I think it's fun. Going through prep, going through all these, like, it is overrated, extremely overrated. Like, the amount of questions I get asked, that what kind of workout stack are you doing? How much are you eating? What are you eating? Like, that doesn't determine whether you're going to be a bodybuilder or not. The way that you determine whether you're going to be a bodybuilder is you have to train like a bodybuilder. You have to have the discipline of a bodybuilder. You have to do things that no one wants to do. I am doing an hour and a half of cardio every day. I am eating 1,600 calories every day. I go to the gym twice to three times a day. Not everybody can do that. And a lot of people that come in here that ask about how do I do this? How do I look have your physique? There is a lot of sacrifices I've had to make. This year I had to skip my birthday. I didn't do anything for my birthday. I've had to skip like family eatings, like spending time with my family because it's all around food. I'm in prep. I'm getting ready for a bodybuilding show. It's a goal that I am trying to accomplish. I have to give that all that up. And honestly, for weight loss management, just to be happy with yourself, you don't have to give any of that up. You can be happy spending time with your family because I always say, but weight loss, it always should come second. It should always come second. First should come the memories with your family and friends because you only have one life to live. They only have one life to live. You never know when's going to be the last time you get to see them. You have all the time in the world to lose the weight, but then you do have a little bit of time just to be with those loved ones.
Absolutely. The one of the best mental exercises that I like to walk myself through and my clients through is when, and this is kind of sounds a little morbid, I promise it's not. When you're on your deathbed and you're like looking through photos and you're near the end of your life and you're looking through memories, you're not going to wish that you worried about the weight on the scale more. And you're not going to look at pictures back of, oh, there's Jenny's 30th birthday. Man, I remember I was at 210 pounds instead of 200 pounds. And I'm still mad about that. You're not going to be saying that. You're not going to be saying that. And obviously there's still validity in wanting to feel good and look good, and that's the whole 9 yards, and all that stuff is great and dandy. But in the big picture of things, you don't want to have to worry about this stuff. And kind of like what Carlos said, like, weight loss should come second in some scenarios. Like, once you really know what you're doing, you know what calories you're supposed to be on, you know how to eat your protein, you know how to train, it's just a matter of showing up and doing it at that point. It should almost happen on accident. It should almost happen in the background. Once those first couple months are established and you've got the habits set, that should really happen in the background, and you should still be living a normal life. You look at people like Carlos or I, or you look at anyone else in the fitness industry, like, oh wow, these people literally made fitness their lives. Like, no, we didn't. We did for a little while because we were trying to learn and we made mistakes. Right? You've gone through phases where you're like, yeah, this is my thing. This is all I'm doing. And especially right now, because bodybuilding prep, you're like near the end. Obviously, it's going to be a huge aspect of your life. It's going to consume a ton of your life, like you've said, because you're on prep. But I don't think about calories very often throughout the day. And that's eventually what ultimately most people want. They don't want to have a shredded 4% body fat year round. They just want to be able to feel confident, have a little bit of muscle, be lean where they want to be lean at, and not be stressed out about food. And I think that's a very, very underrated goal to shoot for. And it's not as sexy, but it's way more of what people actually want than most people will admit or realize, I guess. But yeah, no, I think that's good. I have another question for you. So what would you say, I'm just curious, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. I wanted to save this question for the end, but I'm too excited to ask. What is in like your overall future plans? Because now you've got some social media following going, you've got this show coming up, you've got, I think you've got a couple clients yourself now, which is pretty neat. What, for the next couple years, what are your goals? What are you looking to shoot for now that a lot of people would look at you and say, oh, the weight loss is done? Insanely heavy air quotes, obviously. What's your next big goal to shoot for once the show is done?
So with me, once the show is done, I'm definitely going to be making more content on sustainability, just like you, because I did go through a little bit of a maintenance before I started prep, and I was honestly very afraid about it. I was thinking, like, I overthought it, and then I'm going to be honest, during that maintenance time, I gained maybe 2 pounds, and I didn't track anything during that time. And that got me to realize that I have done a good job on learning how to keep things sustainable where I don't have to track and I'm not going to gain that weight. So I'm definitely going to be working a lot more on like kind of like showing how you can keep being sustainable. Like tracking is cool and all, but there's going to be eventually a time where, like you said, you're not going to think about it anymore. And so that's really where I'm going to kind of like push my social media towards. But then also, it's going to be kind of like the journey of filling out, or kind of like filling out seeing if we can fill out my loose skin. Because in the future, I don't plan on getting any kind of surgery or anything. But I want to see, kind of like run an experiment, how far you can fill out
Mm-hmm.
your frame. And then hopefully in the future, within 3 to 4 years, I might compete in classics.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go.
Just
Right
to,
on.
like, I'm not planning on competing to be pro or anything. I just like, you gotta set these goals for you to
For sure.
reach. And if I say I can, then I mean it's gonna happen.
Absolutely. 100%. That's something that I've worked on a lot of clients with recently is like, okay, we have this goal now, but let's come up with some other ones, whether it's stuff in the far, far future or little stuff we can set in front, like mini goals, right? Because we have, I talked about earlier, we have the start point, we have the end point, right? But once you get to the end point, you realize it's not the end point. There's other stuff you're going to want to keep shooting for. What else are you reaching for? What else are you trying to accomplish? And when you don't have that, it can kind of make life a little foggy, especially when you're so used to having such a big goal to reach for. So having smaller goals like, oh, I want to be able to do 5 pull-ups, or I want to be able to fit into a size medium. Sure. Little or, smaller little I call them sub goals or mini goals. Any clients watching this have probably heard me yap about it plenty. That is something that is incredibly important. And big picture, whether it's within fitness or life in general, I think it's really important to have a bigger thing to always be shooting for, whether it's getting to a point where you own your own business or getting to a point where you buy a house or having some sort of structure of goals to lead just in general, to have direction. Direction will always be more important than speed. And as long as you understand the direction you want to go into, you're winning half the battle right there. You're winning half the battle right there. And like, Carlos is going to compete, crush it, enjoy the sustainability side of things, grow on social media. And then, like he said, his goals for his physique, fill out his frame, fill out some of that loose skin and see where he can get to him for himself. Guess what? I'm the exact same way right now. I've been eating a lot more these last couple weeks, and I'm really starting to see some strength come, like more strength than I've ever had recently, a big surgence. I'm like, okay, let's fill this freaking loose skin out and see what we can do here, And so, same goal, man. Same goal.
And like a lot of people, like, I'm not saying this is for like everybody, but like people have asked me like, why don't I just get it cut off? Or like if that was the whole thing, like if like that's what I'm wanting to do. And like my thing is like, it doesn't bother me. It
Mm.
like it's there, yes, of course. No, like no one's really gonna be happy about their loose skin, but what is it really doing? I don't really go out being shirtless every day. I'm not going to the beach showing off my physique every day. So like to me, it's like, why does it matter?
Yeah, absolutely. It's purely just a vanity thing. And once you get to the point where you realize you're not really trying to impress anybody, you're just trying to impress yourself, you realize you don't really care. Yeah, it's probably something that I thought about doing it. Like, I really like asked myself deeply, like, okay, I've never really give it the time of day. Is this something I really want to do? And the answer right now is no. I want to see how much I can naturally fill out. Let's start talking about practical tips, foods, strategies that helped us just purely from the initial weight loss perspective, not necessarily from the bodybuilding perspective, but training. I think if we went back and forth on a couple big things that helped us, this could really, really help a lot of people. So what are some of your best tips as somebody who's lost 152 pounds to someone looking to start their journey?
Prioritize walking. Walking to me has been the number one thing. I always tell people that that's actually the thing that's like started my weight loss was just walking. Like I hear a lot of people say, I don't have time to work out, I don't have time to meal prep. Well, one thing that we all have time for is to at least walk. And we have something called like an Apple Watch. We have Fitbits. We have Whoop. You have your phone. If you have most of you have your phone on you at all times, and it is tracking your steps. Even if you don't know it, go to your Apple Health app and you'll see it's tracking your steps. So if you were to, for somebody that's starting on the journey, if you were to look at watch and how many steps, you probably would look and see that you're not getting many. And it's just because you're not moving around. Moving around, like, it does a lot for like making your calorie deficit steeper because it's burning calories. So if you can increase your movement overall and alongside a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. That's one
Absolutely.
of the that's one of the biggest tips for me. I always say is like, if you like don't have time to meal prep, you don't have time to diet, start walking.
I'll answer questions on live streams like, how should I start? What should I do to start? And the answer is like, oh, just find something that, works for you that you can do every day. And it's just a euphemism for, hey, start walking more. Go for a 10-minute walk. And then, okay, go for a 15-minute walk now. Okay, now start going for 20-minute walks. Okay, now start going for hour walks. That's literally all it can be. And, some people are like, oh, I don't have time to do this. You can find ways to get more steps in 5-minute windows of your day. Cleaning up stuff around the house, doing chores, walking the dog, taking the stairs, little things like that will get you more steps. If your goal is to actively just work on getting more steps in, remember, we are bipedal mammals. We are human beings. We are meant to walk. That's what we are literally built for. So there are tons and tons and tons of benefits for walking, both cognitively in your brain, emotionally, digestion, joint health. All of it drastically improves in every metric by just walking more. On top of burning extra calories in the easiest way possible. So that's a good one. What I would say, find ways to keep yourself full. And I talk about this every single day basically on my page. Not just, eating in more protein, but understanding how to have a large amount of actual food on your plate without bumping up the calories. Find ways to volume eat. Find ways to add in fruits, add in vegetables, to actually make yourself physically satisfied. Volume eating.
Yeah, that one, and I would say like prioritizing your fluids in general. Prioritizing your fluids. Like when I'm saying fluids, I'm not saying like I'm talking like cutting out like pretty much anything like that has calories in the drinking, and then filling it with stuff like, for example, diet soda, diet juices, water. The more fluid you get in you, it mimics that like you have food in your stomach. You're not gonna feel as hungry. And even just by cutting out like caloric drinks and walking, you don't know the amount of weight you could just shed off just by doing that, not even changing your diet.
Yeah, everybody's 20 pounds, everyone can be 20 pounds lighter by doing those two things. If you walk more and limit the empty calories you get from liquids, sauces, oils, butters, if you can do that regularly, you will drop 10, 15, 20 pounds on top of walking every day. I call them empty calories, but like you said, don't just eliminate the liquid calories, also add in non-calorie drinks to help you stay full, because sometimes we think we're hungry when we're actually just thirsty. And so when you can fill it up with a diet Dr. Pepper or some water or some Mio with some water, so you got some fruit punch action, or you could be like Carlos and delete 16 freaking gallons of diet lemonade like he's got right there. There's tons. It's 2024. There's so many options out there that are zero low-calorie drinks that taste so incredible to help you curb that craving. And there's actually been studies made showing that people who only drink water versus people who do drink allow themselves to have diet sodas and diet drinks. The people over a longer couple months span who drank the diet drinks actually lost more weight and kept it off. Not because there's no specific, special property within the diet soda itself, but because they were able to curb their sugar cravings. They were able to curb those sweet cravings more regularly without having to just only drink plain water.
And then caffeine's also an appetite suppressant, so most diet sodas are going to have a little bit of caffeine.
Yes, absolutely. I try to be somewhat moderate on my caffeine consumption compared to a lot of gym rats. I know some people would drink enough to kill a horse. I don't know where you stand on that front, but you are absolutely right. Yes, caffeine, a lot of people use black coffee, teas, stuff like that. That does help. But honestly, I think we're running out of time here, but this has been a phenomenal conversation, and I was really happy to kind of get more insight on you as a person, as your journey. Obviously, one of the homies, and I love talking to people about their journeys all the time. So this was really freaking cool. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, no, this was fun. And like everybody, well, I'm gonna end it with like on my end. I'm gonna end it like this. All of us, we all technically almost have the same goals, which is like be healthy, become more confident. But you also got to understand that we're not all taking the same path. If I could lay off if I could lay out my path on how I got to the point I am, you still would never be able to replicate like my physique because it's unique to me. Everybody's journey is going to be unique to themselves.
Absolutely. Everyone's going to have their own different struggles. Some people are going to struggle with binge eating. Some people are going to struggle with stress eating. Some people struggle with putting on mass, putting on muscle. Some people are going to be scared of going to the gym. There's different battles with every single person, but you just got to be patient with yourself. But more than anything, you have to believe that you can actually do it. You have to be able to find ways to stack those easy wins to give yourself a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. That is where confidence comes from. And that's a quote stolen from Alex Hormozy. But that's where I'm going to wrap up too. For anyone that has not seen Carlos before, all of his handles are Carlitos_lifts. I will add all of it into the description. Highly recommend you check him out. Good motivational stuff. He's done a phenomenal job of documenting his journey. He keeps things very positive, and I have not heard a single mistruth or falsehood come out of his mouth. He is a genuine person, which is very hard to find in the fitness industry nowadays. So go give him a follow. Go give him some love. And yeah, we will probably create some more stuff for you guys in the future. But thank you again, Carlos, for coming on, and I will see everyone else soon. Keep it simple, big fella.